Hello again everyone from Tokyo, Japan, and welcome back to Two Wheels in Tokyo. Just setting out now on ride out to the Arakawa River, which, as it says in the title of the video, is Tokyo's best cycling path. It's one of the few places in Tokyo where you can go on long rides and avoid the traffic and red lights and all of that. It's a pleasant place to ride, especially this time of year when the weather is really nice. But it's not close, so I've got about a 20-kilometer ride to get from here to the river. And when I get there, I'm going to head out toward Saitama. And when I get to the Omiya area in Saitama along the river, I'll turn around and come back. And I'm going to head toward Kasai Rinkai Park, which is probably the best seaside public park in Tokyo. It's right next door to the Tokyo Disney resorts. We're actually across the river from them, but pretty close. Right now we are leaving Roppongi and entering Nogizaka, which is named after General Nogi, and his house is on my right side. If you watched the movie The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, there was the really old man who was the general with white hair and dressed in a European style uniform. That man is loosely supposed to represent General Nogi, who was one of the military leaders responsible for modernizing Japan's army. He was a samurai, then he went to Europe where he learned the European method of war, and when he built his home here in Akasaka, but his section of it is called Nogizaka. He built it in loosely based on the French style, and he had these beautiful brick stables where he kept his horses, and the stables are still intact today. So the good thing about enjoying a ride here across Tokyo is to be able to see all these interesting sights along the way. So along our ride, we're going to pass by Gaien area, and we're going to head out toward Ikebukuro, and then maybe I'll stop and show you Ikebukuro and Sunshine City, which is the landmark of Ikebukuro, which used to be Japan's tallest building. And after that, we'll end up in Ukima Park, which is located right next to the Arakawa River. And then hop onto the river itself. It's 7:45 in the morning on a Friday morning. Rush hour here in Japan, so not so busy in this particular area, the Minato area, but downtown in Ikebukuro will be like especially busy. So I'm looking forward to the ride today, and hopefully you'll enjoy having a look at Tokyo and Tokyo's best cycling path. All right, moving right along. I'm 7 kilometers into my ride and coming up on Ikebukuro Station, which is on the left side. We're on the east side of the station, the side which goes toward Sunshine City and the more popular shopping districts. The other side, the west side, is famous from the television drama Ikebukuro Westgate Park. As it happens, I used to work for a Japanese company, and the office was on the west side of the station. And I got to see the park every day. Ikebukuro is not as crazy as the drama might show, but it's definitely one of the wilder places in Tokyo. I used to come over to this side of the station for lunch. There are better places to eat on this side than on the west side. Not that there's a shortage over there, but I just like the east side better. Koban, the police station. A lot of police in Ikebukuro because it's a very party kind of place after work and after school. And everyone going to work this morning. Ikebukuro, I'm not a big fan of the place because I've probably spent a lot of time here, enough time that I got tired of it, but for people who want to wander some interesting neighborhoods here in Tokyo, Ikebukuro will definitely give you some interesting things to see. It's a little busy this morning, but it's not nearly as busy as it is after it gets dark. It's very crowded here with office workers and going to izakayas and or to commute home, but usually they go out with friends to eat and drink after work, sometimes entertain clients. There's lots and lots of students around here. Lots of kids live in Saitama but go to school in Tokyo, and so they take the trains and subways from Saitama into Tokyo, and the main place where they have to change trains is here in Ikebukuro. I said I was going to show you Sunshine City, but I lied. Unfortunately, it's on the other side of the highway, and it's kind of a maze of traffic to get through, and I have to ride 100 kilometers today within a certain amount of time. I have to be home by 2 o'clock. But there will be quite a few more interesting things to see along the way here. Typical busy highway interchanges. I need to cross the street. Across the way is a steak restaurant and school uniform shop. What we're going to do is cross the canal and train line, and then head further out toward the outskirts of Tokyo. And Ukima Park is probably the next place I'll show you along the way. Oh wait, I know a better place. There's a pretty cool place I want to stop at next and share with you. So I'll show it to you in the next scene. All right, cool is this? I'm not sure what kind of car this is. I believe it's a Subaru, but it's kind of hard to tell under all the rust and body filler and tape. Looks like Mothra is driving, and Gundam is the passenger. No room on the inside, I guess. Pretty cool. Oh, I love the sound system in the back. Those really old, cool speakers, which were something kids in the early 80s really wanted to put in their cars. Oh, wow. And it's a soft top. Interesting. And rear engine. And the doors open backward. What else have we got here? Satoku-chan. These elephant things here are mascots for a popular Japanese drugstore chain. And old Bridgestone post office bicycle. When I lived in the countryside, I actually had one of those. I think I paid like 8,000 yen for it, or about $50 right now. It was just good for tooling around the town. Here we have two of the most famous characters, popular with small Japanese kids. The one on the left is Anpanman. And Anpan is a kind of bun which is filled with anko, or a sweet flavored bean paste. And his head is supposed to represent that. And if his friends are hungry or tired, he gives them a piece of his head to eat. It's pretty disturbing, you know, those episodes. But Anpanman is kind of a superhero who can fly. And all the characters are based on things you'll find in a bakery. The villain is Baikinman, and Baikin is the word for germ or bacteria or whatever, the kind of stuff that makes you sick or gives you cavities. And every episode is a fight between these two. And I think it's TBS Television who owns the Anpanman character, and then Doraemon. He's supposed to be a cat. And now he's kind of he has some friends who are kids who he takes along for adventures to different places, and that pouch on the front, he has carries all kinds of interesting objects, mechanical or magical or technological things to make you bigger or smaller, travel through time, things like that. He's actually a very old character, and a lot of people don't realize it, but in the pre-war era, he was generally a kind of a, I guess, armored vehicle cat, and instead of carrying these cool things in the pouch, he carried cannons and machine guns and things like that, which with which he could attack the, I guess, Commonwealth and American forces in the Pacific. That Doraemon has kind of disappeared from Japanese culture for obvious reasons, and probably most Japanese don't even know that part of his history. But now he's pretty cool, and they have frequent movies featuring Doraemon. And over here we have all these Showa era advertisements and signs and things like that, except for West Eisenhower Boulevard. Showa era was most of the 20th century and ended just before, I guess, the era before the last one. Right now we're in the Reiwa era, because we have a new emperor now, but eras change from time to time. Some are really short, some are really long. Showa era was really long, and it was the era where Japan became a pacified country and more prosperous than it had been in its past. As you can tell, America has a pretty strong influence on Japanese culture. God bless America, land that I love. And here we have a Honda motorized bicycle. Now, I see these for sale here from time to time, and you can buy one. One like this would set you back about gold man yen, or about $300. It probably wouldn't take much work to get it going since it is a Honda. Pepsi Cola. Route 66. I'm very familiar with Route 66 because I was born on Route 66. The southwest city where I was born and grew up, or at least until I was like in the first grade. Route 66 was just the main street, and my hospital where I was born wasn't my hospital, but was on that street. And it was quite a busy street in those days. It was completely packed full of gas stations and restaurants and hotels and motels and fast food places, and you name it, it was there. It was completely a very busy and prosperous district, and today it's covered with prostitutes and homeless people and drugs, and it's not the kind of place you want to walk around in when it gets late. Someone kind of butchered an old Stratocaster guitar to make this thing. Guess they couldn't afford a Steinberger guitar, so they chopped an old Formistar Strat into pieces. So, interesting place here. And what we have next door, we have a Shinto shrine. This wall here with all the red symbols, these are the names of people who have contributed to the construction or maintenance or support of the shrine here. We have a map here showing where everything is. Check it out. Guardian dogs who keep out the evil spirits, Inuyasha. And here is where you wash your hands and wash out your mouth before you go up to pray. And you walk up and clap your hands and bow, ring the bell, say your prayer, bow again. You leave a donation in the box there. Usual donation is 5 yen. It has to be a proper donation. It should be a coin which has a hole in the center. If you want extra luck, maybe you can put a 50 yen coin inside. Interesting place. Right next to a very busy 2-level highway, 3-level highway, wow. Plus a city street. All right, well, our next stop is going to be Ukima Park. So still moving along. Fair amount of traffic here, but it's relatively safe. It's one of the things I like about cycling in Tokyo compared to other large cities. Everyone here has a license, everyone has insurance. And everyone knows the consequences of hitting a cyclist or a pedestrian, so they tend to be more careful than people in other places might. I've been doing my best for the last few months to get around without using any kind of navigation. I find that the more I let machines or devices do my thinking for me, the less skillful I become at thinking. So I've been to a lot of places, lived in a lot of places, had to learn to find my way around, and never had an issue with it over many years, even without convenience of phone or car navigation. And so I've stopped using it. I have a Wahoo GPS thing here on my bike, but I use it just to monitor my speed and distance. And I try to use my head to figure out where I should go. And surprisingly, it's not that hard, especially since I'm not that smart. Still kind of busy. It used to be that rush hour would end fairly early here because most workers in Japan tend to arrive to work early, and so do students. But this is becoming more relaxed, at least for the workers. The students still have to come in very early. Japan has finally caught on to the idea that, or Japanese companies I should say, that their workers have been working a lot of hours but not really doing a lot of work and during those hours. And when they go home early, it turns out that it doesn't reduce productivity, because for the extra hours they were working, they were pretty much, I don't know, reading papers, playing games, whatever, but not actually doing any work. So it's more economical, I guess, to be a little more flexible in the work schedule. I like this little shopping district. We'll take a quick stroll through it. Guy there smoking a cigarette. There are at least half a dozen signs on this street saying you can't smoke here, but that's one of those rules in Japan which they don't strictly enforce, or loosely enforce, or in any way enforce. We're kind of in the, not suburbs, but outer part of Tokyo. There's still a mix of taller buildings and smaller buildings here, but it's one of the more quiet and reasonable areas to live. There's the real estate office. Most of those places are less than $1,000 per month for a safe, clean, modern city. It's surprisingly affordable to live in Tokyo. Here we have the grocery store. Netto Super. You can use your R-Point card if you shop on the internet. R-Point comes from Rakuten. Rakuten means fun shop in Japanese, and it was Japan's big online shopping service. It's nice. I was on that crazy busy street 1 minute ago, and now it's quiet and peaceful. All right, I'm going to get something to drink out of this machine. My mouth is getting a little dry. I don't want to be dehydrated today. So next scene will be Kima Park, I promise this time. Alrighty, I've arrived at Ukima Park, and you're looking at what I'm going to eat before I hit the trail. I've got about another 80 kilometers left to ride, 20 kilometers to get here. Here's my machine. So far quite happy with it. Wonderful riding bike, and goes the distance. And here is Ukima Park. This beautiful pond. Nice suburban park. Great place for kids. And lots of old fishermen out here. So I'm going to go ahead and eat my lunch, and then take a ride around the park, and then head out to the river. As you can see, Ukima Park is a really nice place. It's wonderful to live next to a park like this. I'm lucky that I live almost next to a park in my part of town, by Hinokicho Park. It's not as big as Ukima Park here, but they have a lot of interesting things to do. Lots of the old retired guys fishing and smoking and drinking beer. Yeah, my grandfather did that a lot when he retired. The big grass bank on the left there, that's overlooking the river. That'll be the next stop after I get through the park here. It's very quiet here, and the weather's perfect, just a little bit on the cool side. Judging by what the year has been like so far, I don't think we're going to have a hot summer this year. It's been cooler than usual. Cherry blossoms were fairly late. I don't mind that at all. Summers here in Tokyo are very hot and humid. And not pleasant at all. Last July we went to Miyako Island, which is as far south as you can get in Japan, actually almost next to Taiwan, one of the southernmost islands. And we went in July, and it was hot. There's in tropical places it's always summer, but beaches are beautiful, but the sand is hot to stand on. The air feels hot on your skin, but the sea feels amazing. The positive thing about going down there in that season is no one else does, so it's not crowded and hotel rooms are less expensive. We have some bird watchers here in addition to the fishermen, because being near the river in this area, a lot of migratory birds. A lot of birds that wander out of the countryside and come here into the metro area. There's a famous preserve in Kasai Rinkai Park, which is where we'll be near the end of this video. And that park is much nicer than this park. We have this little pool area on the left here. We're still open when the summer comes. Kids can come here and splash and play around and get cool. Japanese people tend to be conservative when it comes to using heating and air conditioning. In the winter you bundle up. In the summer you just sweat. But now it's about as nice as it can possibly get. And this is a really wonderful season if you want to visit Japan. Past 3 public restrooms already. And they're spotless. They are cleaner than an American fast food restaurant. Sign there advertising Uki Uki Day for Ukima Park. Wonderful playground. My daughter's at the point that she likes the monkey bars, swinging along the bars, and she's always wanting to go to the nearby park that has these bars. And then the zip line, which is called the Tarzan here in Japan. And all these cherry trees, about I guess already 6 weeks ago they were fully in bloom, and this was an amazingly beautiful place to be at that time. Okay, so go ahead and leave the park and start heading toward the river. Is one of Tokyo's least expensive districts. Basically because it's right on the edge of the city, and it takes some commuting to get to the bigger employment centers. A lot of what are called danshi around here, which are like housing projects. Some of them are public and some of them are dormitories for company workers, usually younger workers with families, young families. Yamaha motorcycle being consumed by nature. Alrighty then. Next stop, I'll see you on the Arakawa River. So here we are, the Arakawa River, and off in the distance you can see part of the skyline of Omiya, which is the capital city of Saitama Prefecture. It's one of the reasons I like this trail, besides the fact that there's no traffic on it. There's a lot of natural scenery. I love the grass and the trees and the water. And it's nice that I could ride my bike here from my home. It's not a short ride to get here, but it's nice when I get here. It kind of makes all the effort of crossing the city and all the traffic worthwhile. I've been cycling seriously since I was 13 when my mom bought me a road bike, Schwinn Latour. It's a Firefly, found its way onto me, sent him off there. And with that bike I kind of explored all the area around Orange County and going out toward Riverside County, the coasts and the hills and everything else, and I really loved it. It was, I just loved the going places on a bicycle. I wasn't old enough to drive in Southern California then, and probably now. Didn't have much in the way of good public transportation, so a bicycle was the way I could see my surroundings. And it was a good thing for me. In those days, like today, addiction was a problem in my school and among my classmates, and a lot of my friends got into drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. And for myself, I never did, because I guess cycling was my drug. It made me feel good. It felt good going places. The physical activity made me feel good, and I think that it's been beneficial for me. I'm still in pretty good health, despite being a lot older, and still able to go out and do the 100-kilometer or more rides without feeling dead tired at the end. So for those people who are looking for an alternate drug, an alternate way to stimulate your body and mind, I really suggest cycling. It's been a lifesaver to me, and I can't recommend it highly enough. So at the moment we are 26 kilometers into the ride. I'm going to go another 14 kilometers ahead here toward Omiya. That's the buildings way off out there in the distance. The river runs out toward that way, and then I'm going to turn around and head back toward Tokyo Bay. I'm going to see if I can cross the river and take the course on the other side, which I hear is quite nice, but which I haven't tried yet. And eventually we're going to end up at Kasai Rinkai Park, and there's besides the park being very beautiful, it has an amazing view of Tokyo Bay and also the city skyline. Coming out into the farmland here. They just planted the rice a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it's easier to see from that view. Very beautiful and quiet here, except for the occasional passing airplane or tractor. Softball on top of the marker there. Interesting, I can already start to hear the sound of the frogs. Still kind of early in the season. In the summer they get quite loud. When I first moved to Japan, I lived in Chiba Prefecture, in I guess a smaller sized town, and it's located about 10 kilometers from the coast and at the base of some hills which were covered with forest. And there were some small valleys among these hills where there were farms of various kinds. It was a wonderfully natural place. And the sound at night with the insects and frogs and everything, it's a wonderful, natural and relaxing sound, and helps you sleep. Nowadays I live in the middle of Roppongi in a modern apartment building, a kind of high floor And though it's maybe the dream of a lot of Japanese to live in such a place, I don't sleep so well there. Roppongi is not a quiet place. Not a very relaxing place. It's a kind of a cool and trendy restaurant and shopping and residential area. But it's certainly not a relaxing place, and I can't complain about living there, because for whatever faults it has, it's still a nice place to live. But there's a lot to be said about living out in the country among the more relaxed people, nature, and animals. I'm not sure if human beings are more oriented toward living in cities or living in the countryside, or maybe a little bit of both. But for myself, for my health and my mental well-being, I think the countryside is a better place. So when retirement comes, maybe move out to the countryside here in Japan, or maybe in a quiet place in America. You'll have to see when the time comes. There's a lot to be said about living in the countryside in Japan. Most of it is not as remote as American countryside, which can be very remote depending on where you're at. When I was a kid living in the middle of nowhere and between Gallup and Albuquerque, it was a long way to go to a department store or fast food restaurant. Now they have truck stops and casinos between those places, but in those days they didn't. And you had to be a little bit crazy to live in a place like that. And maybe my parents were a little bit crazy. There's a lot of natural beauty there. But in an emergency or something like that, it takes a long time for help to come. Going to go up to a little park up here and use the restroom. The restroom there, but I don't know. A lot of the restrooms here, you don't have to worry about drug addicts or crazy people in the restrooms here, but you do have to worry a bit about the wildlife. For some reason, snakes really love toilets out here. And many of them toilets will have a sign on there saying, be careful of snakes when you go in. That's enough to prevent my wife from coming down here. She won't go to a place where there are warning signs for snakes on the toilets. For myself, I find that interesting. That's all the more reason to go check it out. Yeah, the countryside in Japan, maybe Nagano or somewhere in the west, or even one of the islands. Or in America, Hawaii would be nice. There's some kind of somewhat rural areas in parts of Hawaii. But I doubt I will go back to my hometown in the middle of nowhere. Can't describe how wonderful it smells here. These flowers have the most wonderful sweet scent. And they've recently cut all the grass around here, and of course that makes everything smell even better. A lot of branches on the ground. It was really windy yesterday. Anyway, this little more or less clean toilet is my destination. Kind of interesting, it's not a very private toilet, as you can tell, but up in the top they have a AED, or automatic electric or electronic defibrillator. It's kind of an expensive piece of machinery, and it's just sitting there. How long would that last in a public restroom in America? Maybe 2 hours before someone stole it. But I come here once or twice a week, and it's been there for weeks and weeks and weeks. So anyway, I'm gonna do my business, and then I'll see you again soon. All right, so just about 40 kilometers into my ride here. Turnaround point is just up ahead on this side of the river. The paved road ends, at least for a little while at this point, and turns to gravel. Fortunately, I'm riding a gravel bike, and I guess it works perfectly well on this surface. A little noisy. But out in the countryside of Saitama, getting peppered with bugs. Japan probably has more bugs than any other country. Keep that in mind if you're going to visit. Some of them are so big that people can't believe they are bugs and don't even notice them because they wouldn't think something like that is real. Something like a walking stick, which is as long as your arm. Some of the huge beetles, which you see here. I saw one at the station in Hakone, and they had it in a box there, and I didn't think it was a real beetle. I just thought it was something that they put in there, a plastic model or something, and then it started moving. I was completely shocked. But I'm getting sprayed with bugs, big ones, little ones. Good way to tell that, a good reason to stay hydrated is when you get bugs in your mouth, they're easy to spit out. When you start to get dehydrated and your mouth gets dry, it gets harder and harder to spit out the bugs. Keep that in mind. Your mouth starts to feel dry to the point that your lips are sticking to your teeth. You need to drink more. Coming up here to a construction site in the rail line, and that's where I turn around. Nice little tree where I can sit in the shade if someone else isn't already there. Enjoy a quick drink and then turn around and ride the 45 kilometers to Tokyo Bay. A few more kilometers to the park and lunch at the park, and then another 20 kilometers home. There should be around 105 kilometers in total. But this is as far as I'm going to this point. And here's the nice little shade tree. And I will relax here, enjoy my drink, enjoy the scenery, and then continue. And I'll catch you on the way back. So I was crossing the bridge here. I came across the police training center where they teach police officers how to drive. And this looks very much like a regular driver testing course at the driving centers here in Tokyo. The same big circle around the outside and obstacles and things like that. There's a train crossing intersection. Then they have this kind of hard section where you have to turn around and get through it without touching the curb. You can back up and try again, but it's feasibly possible to do it without touching the curb. I managed to do it without hitting it when I took my driving test. And way off in the distance there, looks like they're saying, teaching the officers. I can imagine what they're saying. This is a police car. This is what you are going to be driving for the next several years while you are being a police officer. And all the different stuff. And then over there is the police bus. And you see those all over Tokyo as well. Will he make it? Will he make it around the corner and not touch the curb? Not quite. Maybe he'll get it right next time. Anyways, interesting to see this here. I know that the big police academy is over in Chofu, which isn't so far away from here, so I guess this is where they do their driver training. All right, I'm crossing the river to the unknown side, which I haven't taken before, so I'll see you again from there, and then we'll continue on to Kasai Rinkai Park. So, I'm on the flip side of the river heading back toward Tokyo Bay, and as things usually work out, I find out that this side of the river is actually much nicer than the other side, which I usually ride on. So I guess in the future that means I'm probably going to be using the trail on this side. As you can see, it's quite nice. It's better maintained than the other side, at least in this stretch of it. So yeah, I guess live and learn. And here you see a farmer down there planting rice in a rice planting tractor contraption. For the last few weeks around Japan, school kids have been doing this the old-fashioned way. It's kind of a mandatory thing that all Japanese school kids are bussed out to the farms and made to go out and wade around in the rice paddies and plant rice the old-fashioned way. So they have an idea where it comes from and the amount of work which is necessary to grow it. My daughter has done it besides the rice. She's also went to dig sweet potatoes and things like that. But a nice beautiful area here. All right, we still got about 40 kilometers to go to get to Kasai Rinkai Park. So catch you a little bit further down the road. All right, coming up on 80 kilometers into my ride, and of course I have a pretty horrible headwind now. Most of the day I've been kind of lucky with the wind, but whenever you get like to the end of the ride or the last third, when you've used up a lot of your energy, then the wind comes and makes life hard. I've got about 8 or 9 kilometers to go to get to the end of the line. A little bit further than that to get to Kasai Rinkai Park. And then, of course, I still have to get home after that. So, moving along. This side of the river looks much like the other side of the river. The same fields. same grass. So the other side has better bathrooms and more drinking fountains. The other side is the more Tokyo side of the river, while this one is I don't know, the Adachi side, close to Chiba. I guess they have a bigger budget on the other side of the river to pay for those things. So keep going, and I'll see you at the next stop or next part. Alrighty then. Getting a little tired here. I'm 90 kilometers into the ride, and the last 20 have been into a pretty stiff headwind. I was a little conservative with my speed this morning, and I'm glad I was, because I definitely needed energy here in the latter part of the ride. But as soon as I turn the corner here, the headwind is gone, because I'll be turning around and going back the opposite direction, and it shouldn't bother me anymore. All right. And here we are at finally the entrance to Kasai Rinkai Park. And as I said this morning, which was a long time ago, this is Tokyo's best seaside park. I come here from time to time with my family and our dog. It's a great place to spend the day. Weekends and holidays it's quite crowded, but I wouldn't say crowded, but busy. But the park is big enough to where you can find a quiet place to relax even on the busiest days. I came here on the last Friday of Golden Week, which is one of the busier days of the year to come to this park, and some of it was a madhouse. I couldn't ride my bike through here because there were just too many people. Then other parts of the park were completely empty. What I'm going to do is go up to the vending machine up a ways and get something to drink, and then give you a tour of the park, some of the more interesting parts of it, and then let you check out the bay view from the park, as well as the Ferris wheel and other things. These are rental bicycles here, which you can rent to cruise around the park, which is really nice. And this is another cherry tree grove, which is a great place to come late March, early April. Weekdays are better than weekends, because everyone wants to come here for Hanami on the weekend. Looks like they're preparing for a festival here. These tents aren't something you usually see here. And I have set up for grilled meat, beer, sausage. Looks wonderful. Going near the aquarium here. Up ahead, I'm going to take a break for a minute, and then after that, we'll take a look around the park. Continuing on, central part of the park is the busiest part of the park. Fortunately, it's very quiet on the other side. As you can tell up ahead, cycling is a very popular way to get around. Take a look at the car parking lot, which has nothing in it. Then take a look at the bicycle parking here. Kind of gives you a idea how people prefer to get around. Of course, on the weekend, there'll be cars in this parking lot. And on holiday or 3-day weekends, when the weather is nice, it'd be hard to get parking in here. You may have to wait in line outside. Passing the sea life aquarium over on the right. Going to go ahead up here and turn left and go toward the nature preserve. We have a nice secluded place here for migratory birds. Many of these fly up and down the coast. You never see them because they usually do it at night. If you're in Odaiba or Maihama or even here in the right season, the city lights kind of reflect off of the bottom side and you can see the birds. Huge formations flying north or south depending on the season. But this is one of their resting places. Not that there's a lack of resting places. Most of Japan is countryside and forest, and most people live in the cities. More than a third of Japan lives in the Tokyo area, the Kanto area, the greater metro area. Yeah, more like 1/4, yeah. A lot of people live here. 37 million people live in the greater metro area. And Japan's population is 123 million right now. The nature preserve is on the right, and they make it kind of hard to see so the people don't bother the animals. But they do have blinds set up here where bird watchers and photographers can come and take pictures. No dogs allowed around here because they don't want them to scare away the birds. Whoa, look at this guy. I don't know if you can see it, but rather large snake here on the ground right in front of me. Wow, interesting. I almost ran over it. All right, he's going the other way. It's pretty fast. I'll show that video to my daughter tonight. She'll be surprised. My wife will be horrified. Avoid the deep mud here. It rained all day yesterday, so lucky to have a nice day to come out today. "92 kilometers into my ride. I'm a little tired. Coughing a little bit because I've been breathing hard for the last 2 hours. Coming up here to the boundary of Tokyo Prefecture. Another one of those so-called hidden gravel spots here in Tokyo. Not much, but all right, this is it, the boundary. And there is the Tokyo Disney Resort, or resorts. I can hear the music from here. And I can hear the whistle to the steam train at Disneyland. These are sounds I used to hear when I was a kid when I lived in Anaheim, because I lived closer to the Disneyland park than I am from here looking at this park right now. And that over there is Chiba Prefecture. Tokyo Disney Resort isn't actually in Tokyo, it's in Chiba. All right. Go up here and take the little single track path which goes by the water side. Get a little more sun, as if I haven't had enough already. Tokyo is definitely a very great city for cycling. Even inside the city itself, it doesn't have any bike paths or other than the river path I've been following all day. Around the city, you pretty much just have to drive with the traffic, but it's pretty safe. Tokyo Bay here, and barely see Mount Fuji. Getting a little bit hazier in the afternoon. Can't dilly-dally. I've got to make sure I'm at home when my daughter gets home, which is in a little under 2 hours. Nice, completely 100% private part of the park. A zillion people in the center and pretty much no one here. Great view of the bay and planes gliding into Haneda Airport. A good workout today. I think I'll sleep well tonight. I had planned to eat lunch here, but don't think I have time. But I should have time to make something quick when I get home. Remarkably good. I'm tired, obviously. It's been a long day, but compared to how I felt on my last 100-kilometer rides, I feel much less tired than I did on those previous rides. Funny white tents up there. Look, it's a barbecue area. You can rent barbecue stuff and cook at the park. Fortunately, they don't allow bicycles in that part of the park. Kids love this park. Lots of wildlife. Besides the snake, there are frogs and turtles and crabs and birds and fish and lots of stuff. So the park is a good place to visit if you're coming to Tokyo on vacation. Not hard to get to. Most people come here by train, and that's what we usually do. I have a car, but coming to the park, it's a little easier to come here by the train because the highway's busy, the parking's ridiculous on the weekends. So the other option is here on the left. This is a station for the water bus, and there are boats here which run from here, and they go all the way to Toyosu and Odaiba and Asakusa. Don't hear a lot of people speaking English here. This is usually, this area is kind of out off the beaten path for tourists. They'll go on to Maihama to the Disney resorts or back toward Tokyo. A lot of housewives having picnics today. Looks like kids are having a sports day here at the field. They have a lot of school events here at this park. Phone booth. Phone booth is still kind of necessary in Japan. If you have to call a bank or something like that, you're not allowed to call them on a cell phone, which is for me very inconvenient and annoying. And stopped having a home telephone, so if I have to call the bank to adjust my payments or whatever on my credit card or other stuff, I have to go out and find a phone booth and call the bank from there. I don't understand the logic in that. It's like, wouldn't it be easier for someone to like make random calls from a phone booth than from a cell phone? Anyway. Pretty cool suspension bridge over here. Bicycles aren't supposed to use this. I'm feeling rebellious today. Nice place, nice pond full of fish and turtles, and a great place to relax. All right. Lots of gears on this bike. For you bike fans out there, I'm running a Shimano GRX 12-speed driveline, which is their latest one. with I believe it's a 10 to 51 cassette, which tames the steep hills. Here we are headed back out to the river. Straight ahead is the Tokyo skyline. Directly ahead is a lot of buildings, a little bit more in the distance, which are buildings around Toyosu and Kachidoki, which is like the fastest growing area in Tokyo right now. A little bit further to the right, I can see a odd building which overlooks St. Luke's Hospital. Now following the Nakagawa River, it changed from the Arakawa to the Nakagawa because the river splits into three different courses along the way. Sumida on one side, Arakawa on the other, Nakagawa here, and then further over is Edogawa or Edo River. Up here is a wonderfully complicated system of highway and street and bridges. Train bridge too. If you're coming down here on the train, you would take the Keio line, the same train you would take to go to the Disney resorts. You just get off at Kasai Rinkai Station, which is one station before Maihama. You can also take the Musashino train. It follows the same track. Keio line goes out to Chiba, where the Musashino line turns and heads out toward Saitama. And of course you can take the water bus, and I would recommend coming from Odaiba or Asakusa. You'll have the nicest views on that route. Over on the right side there's a huge taiko drum setup. I'm not going to stop and show it because I'm starting to get some good speed here, but drummers come here and practice under this bridge. They bring their drum sets and come here and just rock out. Here in Japan, most people don't have a home where they can play music loudly inside. And you can go to studios and use them by the hour fairly reasonably, but otherwise, you can just put all your drums inside your car, come here and park and set up under the bridge and just go crazy then. And also, if you like to watch people playing the drums, come here and check them out. Some of them are pretty good. Kind of miss the old days by Yoyogi Park when all the small rock bands used to set up along the sidewalk around the park, bring their drums and guitars and amplifiers and everything, and perform. They stopped doing that about 15 years ago, unfortunately, but it was one of the big attractions. Tourism wasn't a big thing back then like it was today, so it was mainly entertainment for the locals. We didn't have a lot of international people at that time, tourists. And the wonderful skyline ahead, Tokyo Skytree on the left. I'm going to go ahead and sign off from Tokyo Bay, and maybe I'll say a few words just before I get home and let you know how the rest of the ride went. Almost home, 110 kilometers. A little out of breath because I had to climb up the hill behind Nogizaka. Same Nogizaka I mentioned this morning when I was leaving. Home is just ahead, and got here about 12 minutes ahead of schedule. Got an extra burst of energy as I got into the city. Might have exceeded the speed limit in a few places. It's not hard in Tokyo because speed limits here are not high. But I made it. And
I would pay for that.
Still catching my breath. And my next video will probably be after a couple of weeks, because I'm going to America next week for 7 days to visit family. And when I return, I plan to do a little more work on this channel, try to make it maybe more of a local interest sightseeing kind of channel, where I can take you to some of the more interesting parts of Tokyo and the areas around it, and tell you a little bit about the history and such. If you'd like to see those, please subscribe or come back. If you like the video, please like it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you tune in again soon.